Ruminating habit of cow. When a cow eats, it swallows the grass quickly into the rumen. The rumen is full of bacteria that help in digesting the cellulose in the plants. Cellulose is broken down by these bacteria to produce energy. After a while, this food is sent to the reticulum, where it is rolled into balls. By a reverse pumping action, these balls are sent back to mouth by the esophagus, food pipe. The food is now chewed thoroughly in the mouth and swallowed for the second time. The enzymes in the saliva break down the starch in the food into sugar. The food now passes to the true stomach. Here the gastric juice released by the stomach walls digests the proteins in the food. From here onwards, the alimentary canal of ruminants is very similar to that of man. Human respiratory system. Breathing involves two stages: inspiration, during which atmospheric air is drawn in, and expiration, by which the alveolar air is released out. The movement of air into and out of the lungs is carried out by creating a pressure gradient between the lungs and the atmosphere. Inspiration can occur if the pressure within the lungs, intrapulmonary pressure, is less than the atmospheric pressure, that is, there is a negative pressure in the lungs with respect to atmospheric pressure. Similarly, expiration takes place when the intrapulmonary pressure is higher than the atmospheric pressure. Larynx is a cartilaginous box which helps in sound production and hence called the sound box. Trachea is a straight tube extending up to the mid-thoracic cavity, which divides at the level of fifth thoracic vertebra into a right and left primary bronchi. We have a pair of external nostrils opening out above the upper lips. It leads to a nasal chamber through the nasal passage. The nasal chamber opens into nasopharynx, which is a portion of pharynx, the common passage for food and air. Pharynx is the wide cavity at the back of mouth, to which nasal chamber also opens. It is a common passage for air and food. Pharynx opens to trachea and esophagus. During swallowing, glottis can be covered by a thin elastic cartilaginous flap called epiglottis to prevent the entry of food into the larynx. Trachea is a straight tube extending up to the mid-thoracic cavity, which divides at the level of fifth thoracic vertebra into a right and left primary bronchi. Each bronchi undergoes repeated divisions to form the secondary and tertiary bronchi and bronchioles, ending up in very thin terminal bronchioles. The tracheae, primary, secondary and tertiary bronchi and initial bronchioles are supported by incomplete cartilaginous rings. Each terminal bronchiole gives rise to a number of very thin, irregular walled and vascularized bag-like structures called alveoli. A network of blood capillaries surround the wall of each alveolus. The part, starting with the external nostrils up to the terminal bronchioles, constitute the conducting part, whereas the alveoli and air ducts form the respiratory or exchange part of the respiratory system. The conducting part transports the atmospheric air to the alveoli, clears it from foreign particles, humidifies and also brings the air to body temperature. Exchange part is the site of actual diffusion of O2 and CO2 between blood and atmospheric air. Degree measure of angles. When the arms of an angle coincide, its degree measure is 0. It increases in anti-clockwise direction. For a complete revolution, degree measure is 360 degree. Angle sum property of a triangle. Take a triangular piece of paper. Cut it into 3 parts, so that each part represents one of the angles of the triangle. Now, arrange them so that angles are added together. The sum will be a straight angle 180 degrees. The sum of the angles of any triangle will be 180 degrees.